So I'm gonna read a little bit out of the next a chapter of this book called Evolution, Morality, and Violence. Evolutionary theory is ruining modern civilization. Darwinism has had a devastating impact on society. Its ramifications reach into the deepest aspects of social life and culture. We will provide you with a brief overview of some of the effects of evolutionary thinking on our modern world. Um, a significant reason for this tremendous impact is the fact that evolution is nihilistic in regards to morals. First, the clear implication is that people are just animals, so there is no right or wrong. Secondly, it teaches that all evolutionary progress has been made by some at the expense of others. Highest success comes to those who will step on, grind down, and if necessary, destroy others. This brings about so-called fitness and so-called survival qualities. Another devastating quality of evolutionary theory is the fact that it is but a variant form of atheism. Its advocates militantly attack religion in general and Christianity in particular. Christianity is declared to be superstition and the Bible a book of myths. Evolutionary teaching and Christianity are total opposites. They are entirely incompatible. No one can believe both teachings or try to combine parts of the two. For anyone to attempt to do so is but to fool oneself. Among professed Christians there are church leaders, religious teachers, science teachers, and scientists who attempt to combine part of evolutionary theory with biblical beliefs. But the two positions just do not mix. For example, some will claim to believe the Bible, it will maintain there are long ages of developing life forms into human beings before the six-day creation of Genesis 1. If such be true, then the fall of man is given in Genesis 3 is incorrect. And if man did not fall into sin, then the promise of Genesis 3:15 is not needed, and Christ is not needed. Calvary is not needed. No atonement for sin is needed. Salvation from sin is not needed. Um, um, Shortly after the 1859 publication of Darwin's book Origin of the Species, men of integrity is thought to warn the world, and Darwin himself, against the terrible consequences that would result if such a theory were to become widely accepted. Romanes, although a personal friend of Darwin's, recognized what the theory was heading to. And I quote from George Romane's book, A Candid Examination of Theism, 1878. Never in the history of man has so terrific a calamity befallen the race as that which all who may look now behold advancing as a deluge, black with destruction, resistless in might, uprooting our most cherished hopes, engulfing our most precious creed, and burying our highest life in mindless desolation. The floodgates of infidelity are open, and atheism overwhelming is upon us. Um, The impact of science on society, morals, and culture in the 20th century and 21st has been immense. The words of scientists are treated as infallible, when in reality human error exists in all scientific endeavor. Jeremy Rifkin in Algeny, 1984, page 32, writes, "The concept of nature must be compatible with the way people behave within a certain culture milieu, if it is to be acceptable. When we penetrate to the core of our scientific beliefs, we find they are as much influenced by the culture as our belief systems. In order to gain the vaunted power that scientific progress offers, men are willing to submit their way of life and even their belief system to scientific theorists. out onto ethics and morality. It becomes extremely dangerous when materialistic men are set in positions of power to dictate that which the masses will believe in regard to human morality. Hardened evolutionists are determined not to merely let man choose for themselves the type of morality they will follow. Evolution is forced upon people from kindergarten to the grave. Evolutionist zealots are dedicated to wiping out every religion but their own. Atheism and only atheism is their creed and their objective. Darwinism inherently teaches the most vicious set of moral principles. Declaring that man is but an animal, instruction is then given that the most successful animals are those that are the first to attack and destroy. The collective views men are taught determine their system of morals and their way of life. Darwinism declares that man is no better than an animal. George Gaylord Simpson, in his writing *The World Which Darwin Led Us*, the world into which Darwin led us, page 970 says, in the world Darwin man has no special status other than his definition as a distinct species of animal. He is in the fullest sense a part of nature and not apart from it. He is akin, not figuratively but literally, to every living thing, be it an amoeba, a tapeworm, a flea, a seaweed, an oak tree, or a monkey, even though the degrees of relationship are different and we may feel less empathy for 42nd cousins like the tapeworms than for, comparatively speaking, brothers like the monkeys. Darwinism has unleashed a moral holocaust upon the world, one which deepens with each passing decade. Here's its statement to remember in Michael Denton, Evolution, A Theory in Crisis, page 67, 1985. I quote, "It was because Darwinian theory broke man's link with God and set him adrift in the cosmos without purpose or end that its impact was so fundamental. No other intellectual revolution in modern times so profoundly affected the way men view themselves and their place in the universe." We are taught to accept ourselves as merely vicious animals. Tell the people often enough that they are only animals, and then they will begin believing it. Darlington says, violence is a product of evolution. P.J. Darlington, in his book Evolution for Naturalists, 1980, page 243 and 244, writes, "The first point is that selfishness and violence are inherent in us, inherited from our remotest animal ancestors. Violence is then natural to man, a product of evolution. Evolutionary theory presents humans with no uplifting standards, codes, norms, or values." R. Milner, Encyclopedia of Evolution, 1990, page 79, 124 and 317. I quote, "We don't even know what natural is. For our own species, every few years a new theory emerges on what is our natural diet, our natural lifespan, our natural sexual practices, our natural social system, our natural relationship with nature. Nature is endlessly fascinating, but offers no natural way of life for humans to copy. And even in evolution, there is no natural tendency towards progress, perfection, or ascent. Most of the time, we don't even know what is going on in nature." Go on to this now. "According to evolutionary theory, whatever you are is good, and whatever you do is right. There are no norms, no absolutes, no standards you must live up to." Arno G. Motulaky, Motulaky, in Brave New World, Science, Volume 185, August 23rd, 1974, page 654, I quote, "Thus human goodness and behavior considered ethical by human societies, probably are evolutionary acquisitions of man and require fostering. because an ethical system that bases its premise on absolute pronouncements will not usually be acceptable to those who view human nature by evolutionary criteria. Um, um, my kitty's sitting right next to me. Education is seen as the key to the changeover. In order to make atheists of everyone, the schools must be controlled by evolutionists. Um, Sir Julian Huxley quoted in Soul Tax and Charles Chandler, Evolution After Darwin, 3 volumes in 1980, I quote, um, "It is essential for evolution to become the central core of any educational system, because it is evolution, in the broad sense, that links inorganic nature with life, and the stars with the earth, and matter with mud, and animals with man. Human history is a continuation of biological evolution in a different form." Um, you know, before I go on, what I found with evolutionary theory, Darwinism, atheism, socialism, all the branches of that and whatever, they don't want to take responsibility for their own sin and their own actions. Um, and they want to blame it on our ancestors. You know, we're just animals, that's just what we are. There's nothing wrong with it. You know? Yeah, this is a really long chapter. I'm seeing how long it is. Okay, I'm gonna end with this. Hitler and Mussolini. Nietzsche's influence, Nietzsche, influence reached down to Hitler and Mussolini. Both carefully studied Nietzsche's writings as well as Darwin's. Adolf Hitler's famous Mein Kampf was based on evolutionary theory. The very title of his book was copied from a Darwinian expression. It means my struggle to survive and overcome. Um, Robert Clark Darwin, before and after, I quote, "One need not read far in Hitler's Mein Kampf to find that evolution likewise influenced him and his views on the master race, genocide, human breeding, experiments, etc." Okay, another quote from R. Milner, Encyclopedia of Evolution, 1990, page 412 this time, I quote, "The position in Germany was that man must conform to nature's processes, no matter how ruthless. The fittest must never stand in the way of the law of evolutionary progress." In its extreme form, the social view was used in Nazi Germany to justify sterilization and mass murder of the unfit, incompetent, inferior races. Again, from the Encyclopedia of Evolution, page 119, I quote, "During the 1930s, Adolf Hitler believed he was carrying Darwinism forward with his doctrine that undesirable individuals and inferior races must be eliminated in the creation of the new order dominated by Germany's master race." Specialists in Hitlerian studies note that Hitler hated Christianity as fiercely as he loved Darwin's theory, but that is understandable, for the two are as different as day and night. Adolf Hitler quoted in Larry Azar, 20th Century in Crisis, 1990, page 155. He's quoted as saying, "I regard Christianity as the most fatal, seductive lie that has ever existed." Um, okay, Benito Mussolini gained strength and courage from Darwin's book to carry out his bloodthirsty deeds. Mussolini's attitude was completely dominated by evolution. In public utterances, he repeatedly used the Darwinian catchwords, while he mocked at perpetual peace, let it hinder the evolutionary progress. R.E.D. Clark, Darwin, Before and After, 1948, page 115. From the Encyclopedia Britannica, 1982, volume 16, page 27, I quote, "Benito Mussolini who brought fascism to Italy, was strengthened in his belief that violence is basic social transformation by the philosophy of Nietzsche." I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. It's spelled Neitzsch. Then it goes on to communism. It says evolutionary theory became a foundation principle undergirding all modern communism. Karl Marx and Engels, I don't know Engels' first name, Engels, were doctrinaire evolutionists, and so have all communists been ever since. Since atheism is a basic tenet of Marxism in general, and Soviet communism in particular, it is obvious that evolution must be the number one tenet of communism. Lenin and Trotsky and Stalin were all atheistic evolutionists, and so are today's communist leaders. In fact, they have to be in order to get to be communist leaders. And that's from Henry Moore's Long War Against God in 1989, page 85. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for this video. Again, taken from the Evolution Handbook. If you want it, you can get it at chick.com. It's only $5.95. With shipping, it's like 11 something. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. God bless you. Thanks for listening.